Hey guys, Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends with a bonus video for you guys. A little bit of newsworthy for you. By the way, if you don't know, I started a new YouTube channel where I review every champion in the game. That is the goal, at least, and I do take requests. It's called Raid Shadow Legends Champion Guides. I'll have it linked in the show notes for you guys in the description below. So, they're turning every starter champion into a Void Legendary, not just Supreme Elhain. We get Supreme Aethel, we get Supreme Galek, we get Supreme Kayle, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go through all of their kits. These are all coming with the update here, along with the Fragment Summon for Supreme Elhain. We don't know if there'll be Fragment Summon events tied to the anniversary for the other champions. Gosh, it would be nice if they just threw a bone at the new starting players, right? Or everybody, and just make these a free champion chase type login a few days and get your hands on one of these champions. However, that is not looking to be the case here. I can't lie to you guys, before we jump into it here, you can see their avatars. They actually look, all the champions look pretty good, right? We'll take a look at them in action really quickly. But my first thought, not to be glass half empty, guys, is, there goes the Void Legendary champion pool again, right? Like more champions to interfere with my 10x. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get to it on these champions. Let's talk about what they do. Again, we only know about Supreme Elhain in terms of what we're going to get from her. I already went over her kit earlier this week, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. However, it really comes down to what are the multipliers on this champion? Is she going to be good in the arena? Is she going to be an arena specialist? Is she going to be mediocre everywhere else? Either way, guys, it's TBD on that, right? We don't know the multipliers of her abilities. She does have a crack shot, which should ignore ally protect, strengthen, and shield buffs. Grant an extra turn if his attack kills an enemy. I already said this on my previous video, guys, but my hunch is, I think I'm the minority here. I think she's actually going to be very hard-hitting. I think she's going to have really good multipliers. But again, that's just a total random hunch guess. But time will tell on that. If they're not good, then probably not going to be anything special and probably going to be littering, again, the Void Champion pool, right? So we have Supreme Kayle. Look at him in all his glory there. So now we have regular starters, we have dark version of the starters, and then we have the Supreme Legendary versions, Void Legendary of all the stars. They're all Void Legendary. They're staying true to their, obviously, their original faction as well. All right, so what is Kayle? Is Plarium going to stay true to, you know, playing favorites with Kayle and making him a little bit better than the other starters? Let's go ahead and find out. Exemplar of skill is A1, attacks all enemies. So an AoE, big version of Weaken, the debuff cannot be resisted, 75% land rate. That's actually a really, really good A1 ability. His A2, obviously, is going to be a poison champion, just like every Kayle version, right? So this is Putrescence. Attacks all enemies, right? This is on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. 100% chance of placing 3 poison debuffs for 2 turns. These debuffs cannot be resisted again. Also increases the duration of all enemy debuffs by 1 turn. This effect cannot be resisted. So far, no accuracy required on this dude. Another AoE attack on another 3-turn cooldown attacks all enemies. Place an increased accuracy on all allies. 100% chance of placing a decreased resistance on all enemies for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be resistance. Fills his champion's turn meter by 10% for each decreased resistance debuff placed by the skill, and then degrade on the passive decreases each target's accuracy, crit rate, and crit damage by 3% for each poison debuff on them if there are multiple champions on the team with this skill only active once. Whoa, I have to say, guys, Dark Kayle seems like a beast of a champion. Staying true to the Kayle is OP kind of trend here in Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, this kit is incredible. It's definitely a Void Legendary kit at first glance here. We get 3 poisons can't be resisted. We get decreased resistance cannot be resisted on a 3-turn cooldown. We get the turn, it fills the champion's turn meter by 10%. We get the poison, the decreased accuracy, crit rate, and crit damage. We get the weaken. Dude, that seems pretty freaking OP in a lot of different places in the game. We get Supreme Galek here on his A1, Exemplar of Rage. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit has an extra 10% chance of inflicting a critical hit. Each hit also has a 40, make it a 60% chance when booked, of increasing the duration of any HP burn debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Maybe some Ice Golem, the new Ice Golem, I should say. Bloodshed Tempest is A2 ability, 3-turn cooldown when booked. 4 times at random. I hate the 4 times at random. Attacks 4 times at random. Places an increase attack buff on this champion for 3 turns before attacking. Each hit has an extra 10% chance of inflicting a critical hit. Each hit also has a 100% chance, when booked, of instantly activating any HP burn debuffs on the target and decreasing the duration of those HP burn debuffs by 1 turn. Fills this champion's turn meter by 30% if 3 or more HP burn debuffs are activated during this attack. Okay, I take it back. 4 times at random, with each hit having the instant activation of HP burns seems pretty freaking insane in terms of damage, right? We have Unreasoning Outburst as A3 ability, attacks all enemies. Extra 10% chance of inflicting a critical hit. Has a 100% chance of placing an HP burn in a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. Also places a decreased speed on targets whose turn meter is higher than 50%. Again, 3-turn cooldown, dude? This guy seems like a boss. Imagine this guy in Hydra as well. Laugh at Danger is passive. Whenever this champion receives a fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun, petrification, instantly removes it, then fully heals this champion and grants an extra turn on a 4-turn cooldown. And it has fear and true fear. Dude, he's going to be a Hydra machine, a monster. Wow, Supreme Galek. He seems like a boss too. Now we have Supreme Aethel, guys. She looks kind of like the old school Aethel, pretty much, right? I would say the least impressive of the group, but you guys can be the judge of that. Exemplar of Stoicism, the A1 attacks 1 enemy. If any enemies are under freeze debuff, also attacks them. Decrease enemies' attack by 3% whenever this champion hits an enemy with this skill. Okay, stacks up to 30%. Also increases this champion's attack by 3% whenever an enemy is hit with his skill, up to 30%. Not a bad A1, certainly. Cold Company. 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, will ignore Strengthen, Ally Protect, and Unkillables on enemies under freeze debuffs. Then has a 100% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. So an AoE 100% freeze, if they're under freeze already, ignore Strengthen, Ally Protect, and Unkillable. We have the attack booster on the A1 as well. Curious to see the multipliers in the base stats on this champion. Ever Faithful, the A3 ability. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. Place an increased attack, increased crit rate, and a shield buff on this champion for 3 turns. Grants an extra turn. The value of the shield is proportional to this champion's attack. So it seems like a beast mode shield, increased crit rate, increased attack shield. I like how they're staying faithful, forgive the pun, to their original kits, right? We have the 4 times at random on Galek. We have the increased attack that he's bringing to the table himself. We have the Ever Faithful, which kind of mirrors an OP version of her original A3 ability. Pretty cool. Frosty Glare, her passive, has a 15%, make it a 30% chance when booked of placing a freeze debuff on the attacker for 1 turn when hit while under a shield buff, which she brings herself. Has a 35, make it a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn whenever a shield buff on this champion is removed by damage. Jeez, you guys think that Supreme Aethel could be even an arena champion potentially? This is interesting, guys. I have to say, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I have not watched any other videos. I've not read any community comments on these champions. And I had not even read their kits before clicking record on this video. So I went into this vid, just gonna be real, right? Thinking that, oh man, they're making all the Stardust Void legendaries. They're just gonna water down the pool. Shame on you, Plarium. But I have to say that if I had to rank them, Dark Kayle and Dark Galek, I feel like those are going to be beast mode champions pretty much no matter what. Like, I would not be disappointed to pull those as Void legendaries. But there is some kind of biases way deep in my mind. It's like, oh, it's Kayle again. It's Galek again, you know? Supreme Aethel, I think I'm like 60% sure she's going to be pretty strong. But TBD. But I think she looks pretty cool. Like, I love the kits that they came up with on these champions. Again, let me show you really quickly here. Can I pull it right up? Yeah. You can see them a little bit in action. I mean, there's not much here, but, you know, take a little glance, right? See what you guys think, right? Not too bad. Not too bad. So that's Supreme Aethel. Let's go to the other ones really quickly here. We get Supreme Galek. All right, turn around, Galek. Yeah, he looks... Supreme Galek looks very, very Galek-like, right? A little bit cooler of a version, I guess, right? And then we have Mr. Supreme Kayle. And here he is. He looks pretty badass, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Kale looks good. Supreme Kale. All right, guys, so there we have it. Those are the new starter champions, the Void Legendary versions of said starters. Are you with me? Are you kind of optimistic, cautiously optimistic about this, or do you think it's a stupid idea? You go ahead and let me know either way in the comments below, guys. I'll see you later on tonight, and again, I invite you to the other channel. I think we have Gnarlhorn Guide going live in about an hour from now. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.